It is my honor today to give you just a little snapshot of the life of another notable woman, Geraldine Robinson, who touched so many lives in the village of Flesherton, surrounding communities, Grey County and beyond, and for whom I have a great fondness and respect. Geraldine was my supervisor and board chair at the library for 15 years, and so we came to know each other very well. She was my mentor and a dear friend. Just how many people in the audience actually knew Geraldine? So some of you, maybe knew her better than I did. So I want to give a little disclaimer. I can't tell everything about Geraldine Robinson in this short time, but I hope you get just a beautiful picture of the kind of person she was. So I want to give a little bit of background information. Geraldine Ruby Robinson was born in a farmhouse in Golden Valley, Ontario on March 14th, 1923, to parents Oliver and Jeanette Moore. She had 3 siblings, Adolphus, June, and Hartley. So in this photo in front of the family home, she is the older girl on the sled being pulled by dogs. And this is a family photo in front of the car, Geraldine and her little sister and their parents. And then the next photo here is Geraldine with her older brother and little sister Jeanette. Her younger brother, Hartley, had not been born yet. She attended public school in Loring, high school in South River, and then normal school in North Bay. And normal school is like teacher's college. Her first teaching position was in Geraldine, Ontario in 1941. And this is where she met her future husband, John Donald Jock Robinson. I find this very fascinating because, and I realize this is a bit of a sidebar, but Jock was born in Nagoya, Japan, to parents Cuthbert and Jean Robinson, who were Canadian Anglican missionaries. Just before World War II, the family quickly left the country for their safety due to the deteriorating relationship between Japan and the Western world, and of all places, settled in Geraldine, Ontario, where Jock's father became the Anglican priest in the local church. And I kind of find it, maybe it's the romantic in me, but it was just how couples come together. So someone from Japan to someone in this remote part of Ontario. In 1942, Jock joined the Royal Canadian Navy and Geraldine moved to Loring to teach. And 3 years later, they were married in the Loring United Church on July 3rd, 1945. Very soon after, Jock reported to his naval ship and Geraldine returned to teaching in North Bay. In August of 1946, with the war being over, the young couple moved to Toronto. Jock attended the University of Toronto Medical School, graduating in 1952. In 1953, Jock and Jerry moved to Flesherton, buying the home of the previous doctor, Dr. John Milne, and taking over his practice. It was here in Flesherton that Geraldine, or Jerry as she was known to many, would spend most of her life, and where she and Jock raised their 4 children, Mary, Kim, Mark, and Scott. First and foremost, Geraldine was a mother and wife, a mom to 4 active children, and the wife of a busy doctor. Important roles that in themselves were admirable, but could possibly be overlooked in light of her community works. Soon after settling in Flesherton, Jerry became involved in projects for the betterment of community, particularly in the areas of education, culture, health and recreation. And briefly, I will touch on a few. In education, in 1959, she organized a parent group to establish a private kindergarten in the village of Flesherton before the school board offered such a program, and her son Mark was one of the children in that first class. Around the same time, she served on the Dundalk and District Association for Children with Developmental Disabilities, now called the Southeast Grey Support Services. In 1966, she was elected chairman of the Southeast Grey Board of Education, This was the first rural board of education in Ontario. She was only the second woman board chair in Ontario at the time. I believe one of her greatest accomplishments was her influence and contribution to the building of Grey Highlands Secondary School in 1968. Many people note that it is due to her strong leadership as chairman that the school is here today. The new comprehensive school in Flesherton accommodated over 1,000 students and more than 60 teachers. Just imagine the excitement and pride she must have felt as she addressed the audience of more than 500 teachers, students, and parents at the first commencement held in what was then a state-of-the-art school. She was so well-spoken and demonstrated the poise and dignity that would be associated with her character over the years when she was asked to say a few words at important events, openings, celebrations, and so forth. Her speeches were always interesting and informative, providing the appropriate words and comments for the occasion. When the new school was built, the board was having difficulty with teacher recruitment due to the shortage of houses. Geraldine was concerned, so she bought 2 vacant lots on Highland Drive. There were no houses there at the time, and built 2 new houses, and then 2 more. As her daughter commented, it was good that Mom kick-started that little subdivision settlement because it sure expanded. I love these 2 photos. They're from newspaper clippings from the Owen Sound Sun-Times, dated April 7th, 1969. It's an interview article with Geraldine discussing her role as mother, wife, and chairman of the board. Quoting from the final lines of the article, "She lives by the philosophy we all might stand to profit from, that being, you must feel, at the time that you make the decision, that it is right for the good of the people. This is the only way I can sleep nights." Wouldn't Agnes Macphail be applauding at that? Geraldine's strong advocacy and support for free public library service is very dear to my heart, obviously. She served on the Flesherton Library Board from 1960 to 69 and from 1977 to 94. She was chairman from 1978 to 94. During this time, she initiated a number of projects and improvements which greatly enhanced the library service to the community. Amongst the initiatives was moving the library to a new and permanent location in a majestic house at 10 Elizabeth Street. This was made possible following the very generous bequest from Kate Macmillan. This photo is from the dedication ceremony naming the library the Kate Macmillan Memorial Library. Numerous children's programs and services, such as summer reading programs, story hours, were developed to expose children to books and reading at an early age. Staff was encouraged to attend workshops, seminars, and courses to improve expertise in library service. As the library collection and services expanded, the need arose to increase the physical space. And with the support of infrastructure funding, an addition was constructed in 1995. And these are just a few photos of the ribbon and special recognition to Geraldine for all her work. Before long, I also came to realize that libraries were not her only passion. She had a passion for community, and that was evident by her involvement in other areas. Meals on Wheels, the church, Friends of Flesherton Hills, Grey Bruce Regional Health Centre Foundation, Bruce Grey Children's Services, Grey Bruce Elder Abuse Committee, Grey Owen Sound Advisory Committee for Seniors, Southern Ontario Library Service, TVO Advisory Board, the Flesherton and District Chamber of Commerce. She played a major role in getting a tourist information booth set up for the village. Flesherton Beautification Committee. She helped with the development of a plan to beautify the community with flower planting, placement of planters, and generally improve the appearance of the village. This photo is an example of one of the projects, and there's just there's a whole story behind that special, the gate, the entrance to Flesherton, which we won't go into today. This one, the next photo is on the occasion of the Beautification Committee recognizing her work. And then these additional photos of her home just show how well qualified she was in the area of beautification. Last, but certainly not least, I want to talk about the museum and heritage. As a result of her energy and drive, and with the help of her neighbor, Kate Macmillan, the Southeast Grey Museum was established in the village of Flesherton in 1973. Flesherton was known for antiques at the time. There were about 7 antique stores in the village. Local artifacts and treasured items were being bought and taken out of the community. While this was happening, Jerry, along with other local people, became concerned as they realized that part of local history was being lost. In her usual manner, she was compelled to do something. Initially, the Flesherton Chamber of Commerce purchased the Flesherton Railway Station in Ceylon with plans to use it as a museum, but it became apparent that the cost was going to be too great to bring it up to standard. Undeterred by this setback, Geraldine headed up a group that set their sights on a location at the Memorial Park in Flesherton. In the early days, the museum was managed by volunteers. It was open part-time during the summer and staffed by students. Geraldine spent many hours supervising the students while she and Jock maintained the building with the help of volunteers. A bequest from Kate Macmillan to the Library Museum provided additional support. In 1988, ownership of the building was turned over to the village of Flesherton, and she served as secretary-treasurer for a term as chairperson from 1989 to 94. And this photo is just a little collage of some of the museum activities that happened around that time and after. In line with her interest in the museum, Geraldine was a long-standing active member of the Grey County Historical Society for 25 years, serving as president for 2 years. She was a member of the Archives Committee for 8 years. And this photo is the opening of the archives actually in Durham before it then moved to Grey Roots. While on the Historical Society, she helped publish a number of history books in various capacities, from research and editing to writing articles. And I'm sure you'll recognize some of them. The Indian Princess, Markdale and Flesherton, A Written Heritage, Split Rail Country, A History of Artemisia. Approximately 8 years ago, the library published Split Rail Country Volume 2, and she contributed many articles to it. This book is dedicated to Geraldine, naming her a guiding force and inspiration to all those in this community. Over the years, Jerry has received many, many awards and tributes as small tokens of the community's appreciation for her volunteer service and commitment and support. All this is really born out of her genuine love and compassion for people, the desire to improve lives and for the betterment of community. When she was presented with an Outstanding Achievement Award from the Ministry of Citizenship and Culture in 1987, Geraldine commented, "There's so much out there that can be done, and I have a great interest in good things happening in the community." In 2015, to honor her, well-known artist and member of our community, Harold Clunder, donated a beautiful painting to the new library. Geraldine was very appreciative, but when she spoke, in her usual manner, very quickly diverted the attention from herself to those involved, whether it was a board, volunteers, or committee. It was never about her. Common phrases or words that neighbors and friends and colleagues used to describe her. She was progressive, approachable, a good listener. She was generous with her time and finances. She was honest, had integrity. If something needed to be done, we all knew who to go to. She was a visionary, and no or impossible were seldom part of her vocabulary. She was a mentor. One cannot list the number of people she's motivated and inspired. This community has been blessed and enriched by the exemplary service of this caring and compassionate woman. This book, Eminent Women of Grey County, in it there's brief biographies of women who made a significant impact on society and our lives, including Agnes Macphail and Nellie McClung. Geraldine Robinson was an eminent woman, and if this book were written today, she surely would be included in it. Geraldine Robinson has passed away on July 15th, 2015, at the age of 92. She's left this community, but her footprints, handprints, and heart are still here. Go for a leisurely stroll around the village. Visit the library and museum and secondary school. Sit by the pond. Admire the flowers around town. All a legacy of a lifetime of selfless dedication of time and love for her beloved Flesherton and community. Thank you.